I like to think that I know at least the absurd movies that have been out there for like years. Like we got some like insane classics in like Freddy Got Fingered
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausages? Daddy, would you like some sausage?
to the animation studio that was going to be the next Pixar that brought us Food Fight. And even to underrated ones like Hubie Halloween. Most things that commentary has kind of always been making fun of a lot of just like really poor movies that most people have yet to even ever find or will ever find in their lifetime. And they usually end up doing it really just because like you haven't seen it, and I don't think you would end up being cared to spoil about it. And it got me thinking, what movie ended up compelling me to kind of just go on my way to make a video like this? And that, my friend, is the answer to it, which is Pizza Movie. Pizza Movie is exactly what you think when you think of a low-budget film that is really on the most simplest of premise and kind of just doing whatever it wants to try and make it funny. It has been memed and not so much on the internet that it actually ended up doing most of the promotional work for this film. I don't think anybody would have cared to even have seen this film if it wasn't just being like, just R&D posting out the wazoo just from everybody else. And the reactions on them online have been kind of split. Some have said that it's kind of just a bad film. Others say that it's a good film, but I am neither of those on either side. I am a firm believer that this is Schrodinger's movie, whereas a film that is just so unexplainable that is in a state of being both bad and good, because it's not just bad and good film, it's just simply film. It's about two loser college students that have essentially just been hated by the entirety of the campus. The two that we follow are Jack and Montgomery. Two of them I think are probably the only reasons that you'll even want to kind of just watch this film in general. I think both the actors, at least in this case, actually do a pretty good job with them. They both end up acting like actual losers, but they have like a charm enough to extend them that it actually adds on to the humor with them. And I think their personalities are at least in contrast enough that ends up working together. Montgomery is a guy who has to be impressive to a girl that he has a crush on and tries desperately to be an alpha male, as opposed to Jack, who is a selfish, cocky guy who often gets bullied a lot by the campus and has to make the best years of his college because he just kind of wants that like notion, the memory of it. Two of them are just trying to have a relaxing night away from the whole thing that they're usually kind of stuck with, until a mint casing falls from their ceiling and they discover that it's drugs from a previous chemist student. They both decide to take it, and they end up figuring out that the positive effects only end up working if they actually end up having a pizza.
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. As we put him in...
Tricking her should be easier than escaping from Canadian Alcatraz.
She likes it. The baby likes it.
Luckily, one of them did actually end up ordering an actual pizza, but now they also have to kind of endure the 6 phases of the drugs, all while having to try and actually get to the pizza. That is literally not the entirety of the premise of this entire film, and it does not shy away from just how absurd it's going to be the moment you see the first phase. It is just primarily of just seeing exactly how funny you're going to find Jack and Monty, because I think with the exception of 2 other characters, everybody else is just like unbearably annoying. Everybody else is kind of just a one-note trope that kind of just serves in for just convenience and plot and humor, which, I mean, it's Pizza Movie. You're not expecting to go in there and find actual like meaning and depth in most of these, so I'm not gonna say I'm surprised that there aren't, but it kind of just ends up lowering the film a little bit down for it, because some of the humor that they end up making is just downright bad, awful, and just like they're trying way too hard. Like, this feels like type of jokes I would end up seeing from like The Boys, or maybe like a Vizzy Pop like kind of joke they end up making. It's just like it just kind of ends up like falling flat just a little bit, or even hard. They also just have this other plot line within this movie of the RAs that are meant to kind of just be just ICE agents in this college campus, and they're just kind of meant to exist to kind of remove the degeneracy of the college I could not be bothered to give any more of a shit about this plotline. Every time it appears, I don't care about any of it. It's way too over exaggerated, and they feel like they take it a bit too seriously at some points. The only time when I'm actually interested in the plotline of the RAs is when Cindy's online, aka Caleb Herron's character. He plays the held back introverted newbie for the RAs, and I like his inclusion there because I think it's actually pretty nice and sweet. I only know him as just Mr. Beast's like mortal enemy that he ended up losing in the Rolling Stones category for like top 10 celebrities. He gets like a few amounts of screen time, but I think it ends up working just enough to kind of fill within the antics of this movie. The other character that ends up becoming part of like the main group with like the boys is Lizzie, the girl that ends up hanging around with the bullies that end up hurting Monty and Jack, and end up discovering that they were actually friends at one point. And she also ends up just taking the drugs by accident, so she literally has to go with them to get the pizza. I think for the most part, I think what their context of like their whole friendship is, I think it's just like fine, it's basic, it works. You're just kind of having to see how they get there and just seeing if you even remotely am like, I don't know, awake at that point. Like, all this to say is that, is this film funny? Can say that, yeah, I think some of the humor actually does end up working for the most part. Apart from just like Jack and Monty's humor, and most of the time it's just the drugs taking their effect that like they had to kind of construct most of the stuff out of, I think actually ends up working. Like the phase after the make the baby laugh phase is the no bad words phase, which is essentially just them stuck in a loop of having to not try and curse because everything they do, they had their heads explode. And I think it's honestly one of the more funnier phases out there, at least to me, because I think it just derives from the best humor, just how well placed the cursing might actually just be put out for it. It even just leads to a point of Montgomery trying and failing to go through a conversation with his like crushed girlfriend. Girlfriend that he has girl has a crush on. Keeps failing repeatedly over and over and over, and it just has him just saying a curse word every time, only to literally end up discovering that one of the words is a certain British word I cannot say on YouTube. It doesn't count as a curse word because it was a drug made in the UK. Like that's a good joke. That's how you know that's how you make a really good joke. But just as the drugs kind of end up serving a lot of its both of its comedic purpose, it kind of also serves as just the way for the writers to kind of just put things in without needing to put any extra effort into it. Like the next one after it, when like Jack and Monty end up having to stumble upon Lizzie and realizing she also took the drugs, they end up experiencing the flashback phase where it's in the name. They experience a flashback. We get like context on like Lizzie and like, you know, why she ended up wanting to like remove himself from like the other boys, and we get the context as to why Jack, at least is specifically him, the most hated on the college campus. This drug also just ended them having to prove that the multiverse actually exists in the pizza movie. As in the beginning of the movie where Monty's just running in the football field with his laundry, he ends up kicking a football into a student's face, and the president, they need to kind of go through his room's windows to avoid the RAs. So in the flashback, they're experiencing Monty catching the football that he kicked to that student, which he saved, and now that student in the present is okay and actually lets them in, and also somehow he also took the drugs from it because the mint casing fell in the flashback, but was also just like, it's now in the present. I'm saying the multiverse exists in there because it's my headcanon now, because it's a better explanation than the movie just going like,
did we change the past? How is that even scientifically possible? I don't know. You want to disprove quantum theory or get a pizza? Come on.
Afterwards, I would kind of honestly say that the drugs end up just getting very cliche, which is how it ends up going. Like, we got body switching where they switch bodies with somebody, and Monty ends up switching bodies with his pet butterfly, Lysander. Yes, he has a pet butterfly. I didn't mention it before because I didn't think it would be important later on, but you know what? You can't predict shit in this movie. Then after the RAs end up crashing like a football party that they were stuck in, and they end up getting locked in an RA's office with Mr. Beast's mortal enemy, the nothing but the truth phase ends up kicking in, where they literally had to non-stop talk about the truth. And I think this is the least bit funny of it, simply just because it's just saying random out of pocket shit for like the sake of random out of pocket shit.
Like, you know, what do you guys do in your free time?
Oh, not much. Sometimes I Google, is my penis foreskin too long? I go to the gym to sneak peeks at other guys' foreskin to see if mine is way longer than normal. Oh, nothing really. I had breakfast, and then I got banned from oldbuffdaddies.com for violating their terms of service. A prostitute to impersonate my father and pay me compliments.
I got my nails done.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Let's keep it in that gear. Huh? What else?
I went number 2 in Logan's toilet, but it clogged, and I didn't want him to see my poop, so I put it in a bag, and that bag's still in my purse.
After that phase ends and they are literally not ratted out entirely from it, Lizzie ends up getting a call from her bully friends that apparently with them they have a pizza, so she goes off her own, and then a plot twist happens because during the switcheroo phase, where Monty was still in the butterfly body, he ends up learning about the RA's plans to transfer most of these students to Grog Hall. And what is Grog Hall, you're asking me about? Well, I don't know. We don't even actually go to Grog Hall at all. In the movie, it's kind of treated as kind of like just like this like unspeakable prison that people are just kind of just sent to die to, which in reality, it's like college dorm that's like 4 hours away from the campus. So they treat it as basically like you're already dead the moment you just kind of live in there. And I'm kind of disappointed that like this didn't play a bigger kind of role within it, because we don't get to see it. We hear mentions of it, we hear as like, you know, people's reactions to Grog Hall and like the history behind of it. But even so, wouldn't it be a little bit more funnier to just see like, you know, the three people on drugs having to experience like all 6 stages of it, having to go in the Grog Hall to kind of like see one of the phases, kind of like how it interacts with all of it? I feel like that would just be so much more funnier in a way than kind of just doing it just in the normal classrooms, like the dorm rooms of the college campus. Oh, and plot twist, Monty ended up planning to send Jack to Grog Hall because he didn't want him as a roommate anymore. And then they get arrested by the RAs and the pizza gets taken away, and then Lizzie ends up figuring out that the bullies in the blind to her about the pizza. And the RAs have a specific interest with Jack, specifically the RA's leader, who I didn't bother to learn his name because I do not care for him in the slightest, and I'm not going to call him by his name. I'm not even going to bother looking him up. And he ends up revealing about his exact plan for the whole thing, because throughout the movie he's been kind of been taking people's and like students like phones and all that. Well, it turns out that Jack is a living iPhone skeleton key that is able to bypass the Face ID scans on anyone's phones, and he needs them all to be synced on all the phones to make as if the students transferred themselves to Grog Hall. Monty and Lizzie end up coming to rescue Jack, and they all become Juan. No, they just become a guy actually named Juan. I'm not even like, you see it right in front of yourselves, okay? You see it. And I think this is like okay as a joke. I do like how they end up having to cut from like Juan to them kind of just doing this.
I'm sorry.
Well, everyone, here I am. The real me. I'm not hiding anymore.
What the f is this? Seriously, what the f is this?
After taking down most of the ice, the RA leader ends up having to do one last thing to make an offer to Jack. He offers him a place in the RA so that he wouldn't be bullied by any of the other students in exchange for sending all of them to Grog Hall, including Lizzie and Monty. But if he declines, only he gets into Grog Hall. You already know what kind of choice he's gonna make. He ends up sacrificing himself and stops the plan from happening. Very much everything goes according to plan for them, and ends up not facing the consequence. Oh, and that butterfly Lysander, yeah, he was almost kind of like presumed dead because he ended up getting smashed by the RA leader, but then he came back, and he's voiced by Harry Potter.
You squashed my body. You left me for dead. But you didn't finish the job.
Get away from me! Get away from me!
I'm gonna fucking put my dick in the air.
But now the final phase of the drug begins. The one thing that the characters were trying to avoid the entire time, and it is called, and I quote, "Your worst nightmares come to life and shoves a chainsaw up your ass." It is literally just their worst fears having a chainsaw, and they planned it to go up the pooper. Now it's at the final stretch. The pizza's close in hand. They jump out of a window. Snackatron is almost at the brink of death. The R leader is back and he's mean. And they decide, fuck it, you're getting all the drugs being put onto you. As apparently not one of the warnings for this drug specifically was that if you take more than one dosage, you'll experience the true horrors of reality. And that true horror of reality was literally learning that he was in a low budget film, he had no depth as a character, and that the title Pizza Movie was actually just a placeholder name that eventually just became the title. And literally after getting off of that experience, he just walks away and leaves.
We're in a movie. We're in a low-budget movie. My character's not written with any nuance at all. I'm a caricature. I only deliver exposition. What the fuck was that?
Our heroes finally end up eating the pizza. The side effects are all gone. Monty realizes that he actually does not like his crush. Lizzie drops her friends, and they all end up going to Jack and Monty's room to eat the pizza and play their unfinished game that they used to play, and it ends with them experiencing the positive side effects of the drug. It's a 100% wholesome ending. Nothing about this was ever strange in the first place. There is almost like very few words, and yet there are so many words that I can end up describing the feelings that I had when watching Pizza Movie for the first time, because really nothing can prepare you for anything like a movie like this. And I'm kind of happy that they kind of do exist, because they exist in such a way of like having like just pure fun and having just to turn off your brain, kind of like the Minecraft movie promoted. I just like how that this movie is just so hard to describe in any other way, because whether or not it's just like it's peak, it's bad, or it's just over, I just cannot stop thinking about Pizza Movie no matter how hard I try. But yeah, that's about it. Like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.